All right, all you devils out there, happy Friday. Sam here with you. Oh, it's the 20th of August. It's past 12:30 for me here in Austin here. This is a little bit behind schedule here. I'm struggling with this count here. Now, this has been the primary count. We're gonna get into a couple of alternates here. Before I do that, just quickly, I need to just mention this. So I think we're now to the point where we are going to stay consistent with the live stream. So we have been doing them. Oh shoot, I don't know if we've done one or 2 weeks here, but we do intend now to keep that schedule. So we are currently running with alts on Mondays. That I'll do. Traditional assets on Tuesdays. I will also do that one. We'll have a combination, crypto and traditionals, whatever you're interested in, for my partner, Monte Crypto, on Wednesdays, who has a very different approach than I do, and he's got quite a following amongst members and YouTube subs as well. Now, while he's a level 1 certified Elliottian, that's not what he focuses on. He's got a very unique approach to geometry and support and resistance. If you haven't seen it, it'd be worth watching. Worth attending one of his live streams, and we like it because it's a different approach. So that if you come into our membership, it's not all Elliott Wave all the time. It doesn't matter how many times I say Elliott is the third priority. When new members come in, that's the first place they want to go. So we want to accommodate that. But for those that might have a passing interest in Elliott Wave, or will apply it when it's drop dead in your face, can't miss it, they may not want to specialize in that. So Monte Crypto's approach, it really gives us a nice alternate way to approach the market. And it's very, very effective, and he's done really well with it. A lot of members doing very well with it. So I encourage you to participate in those if you are not completely clear on what's happening with the Elliott stuff and are perhaps looking for an alternative. So those are on Wednesdays. Thursday's kind of up in the air. We'll continue to do Bitcoin Friday. We may drop in Sensei Tudum on Thursdays as well. He's on holiday at the moment, but he'll be back shortly. So with all that said, if you haven't done it already, well, I'd like to think maybe you're a subscriber, but if you haven't done it, you might hit that bell notification. So when we start the live streams, right now the schedule is 9:30. It's either 9 or 9:30 to 11:30, somewhere in that range. We'll do it for the first 2 hours of the day. That's about as much time as we need. So those will run, that's the schedule as it sits right now. So with that, there's 2.5 minutes. Okay, let's get back to Bitcoin. So as I said, my partner Monte Crypto is kind of, while Elliott is not his forte, I mean, again, he's a certified Elliottian, and his suggestion was, if we're not going to go all the way down to the C here to give us this perfect textbook ABC, one of the thoughts would be that we could resolve this time imbalance with a triangle and then go up, right? And I think he may very well be right. We would have dealt with this time imbalance. So we have, while it took a lot of time, you would call this a sharp correction here, particularly with the C wave that goes that deep. So just guidelines of alternation, you might be over here looking, well, if we're going to go sharp here on the 2, and we're going to go sideways into the 4. If it's not going to be a straight down shot to the C here, to retest down here, well, this is 24, 25-ish. That gap, here we can do it this way, between the prior low at 28 and this target here, I'd call it 24. If we're not going to come down and do this right here, well, the alternate, right, the very reasonable, would be that we go sideways through a triangle. Now, I'm usually reluctant to forecast a triangle when I don't even have my pivot in yet on the B, but it just makes sense. And it might put us here in sync with some of these time components here, and we might be able to take advantage of this median line as well via the shift pitchfork, because we're trying to track this correction. Now, again, we don't have this B yet. Now we're going to look at some scenarios here and some invalidation points with a few counts here, because counting this has been a real bear. But we'll do our best here to get our arms around it here. I know it's a challenge. Well, any Elliottian counting this is challenged, and we can't be definitive about what's happening here. Just, you can't be at this point in time, and until it completes and we get the full picture, all we're doing is looking at probabilities. This is the entire process of Elliott Wave is looking for probable destination counts using geometry, swing relationships, fibs, time, all of it, putting it together to give us a probable outcome here. But that's all we get, right? As you hear me say that many times here. So the triangle is kind of interesting here. So we'd be doing it A, B, C, D, E, potentially putting in the 4. Oh, let's see here. Now, so I still do this. I have the, I call it the platinum. So we've gone past the 65, next up 707, 786, and then I'd put the I don't have it on there, but I'd put the 887 on there as well, which would probably line up right about here. All right, so we'd have all of these potential locations for the B wave here. But if we go too high, I think the triangle is going to be threatened here. We want to see this pivot somewhere in this range so that we stay consistent with that framing. So again, to draw it up, we'd be doing something like this, and then we go. Right? That would really make sense to me, and I'm starting to lean into that count. So I'd call that. Now again, we don't even have the B yet, so we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it's a scenario here that would make sense, and kudos to Money Crypto for putting that in my ear for the last couple of weeks, because I think he may have it. All right, so with that said, and this being the alternate here that we can now kind of keep an eye on, and that doesn't mean I'm bailing on this one. This is still this is the simplest solution, right? If we say it, how about we say it like that? That's the simplest solution. Bitcoin rarely gives you the simple, but we can't eliminate this just yet. So as I will often suggest, even if you do a quad, because you could easily come up with 4 counts here, I'd keep all 4 in rotate, and I'd update them as they go. And if you get to a point where you can eliminate one, now you're down to 3, eliminate another. Now eventually you'll get to where there's only 1, because there can only be 1. Right? If that's where we're going, and again, we can't eliminate the possibility the 4 is in here. I just think it's a time imbalance here, and I mean, I certainly have been wrong many times, but that I continue to think we've got to come down here and at least challenge this low one more time. Right, now, again, I'm long as hell in Bitcoin, so it's not like I'm going to be disappointed if we go higher. I just continue to think this is a higher risk location to be adding to your bags. How about that? That's really all I'm saying. I am not saying. Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying short it. I'm not disappointed if this keeps going, but I do think this is a higher risk location to be adding to your bags. All right, so let's. Oh God, where do I have it? Okay, so this is a real bear of a count. Okay, so let me pull back out to a 2 hour here just to review any that didn't see this here, and we're going to start to put this in context. So take a look at what we have down here. So let's see. Now note, I'm out of log scale since we're not looking at a $60,000 or a $62,000 range anymore. We're going from 3K to 65K. Now we compress the range here so we can come out of log scale. Well, just as I showed this last week, right? So here's the first swing, and if we go down exactly 100%, if I do it right here, we come to this location. So we know, just looking at that, we human beings, we're not that precise. We know that's an algorithm. This is just a range expansion. So I've got the wolf range on here, right? The initial pivot down 100% ticks the low. Well, what's interesting now is that the exact same thing is happening back the other direction, right? So you might say, oh, well, this algo is obviously in play here. Well, let's see what's happening on the other direction. So all I'm doing is taking the same thing. I'm taking that initial swing, the proposed A wave here. Now look what's happening here. If I can get this hot. So okay, so here's the swing. Here's 100%, right, which gives us this pivot. Now look what we've just done. There's the 200. Well, so interestingly, we stalled here at the prior pivot, right? It's just market structure. It's not surprising. Couple of little attempts to get through, retrace. Now we got the 2. It's the weirdest damn thing. Oh, now it's going to let me do it, right? This is what I was trying to do. 2, 3. Well, where's 4? Right. Well, we got this little price location here we'll get to in a second, but this is remarkable precision, right? Again, we human beings, not that precise, right? So we know it's an algorithm. So it worked it coming down, it's worked it coming up, and here we've just tagged the 200 as we're hitting the outer median line. Interesting. Now the count here, so I'm going to take this off just to, or let's hide it. Oh, let's see. Here, let's hide this one as well, because it'll just be in our way here. So this is, so the red and the gold line here. So if I go back, what do I have on here? Let me get, just so you see that. Let's go back to, that'll work. To our regular measured move. We go down to that low, get it right on it. Okay, so here's the 50, here's the 618. Right, and so those are tied to the speed fan that we had on, which I still have over here in the tree. We might bring that out in a second. But so you can see here out of log, we're in between the 50 and the golden zone. Interesting, right? As we sit here hitting that pivot. Now, looks to me like there may be some more to come here, but we've got to pay attention to this pivot right here. I think we got to go 30-minute. This is really a tricky count here. Okay, so, well, actually, pardon me. Let me pull back here because I think this is very much influencing my thinking. All right, now we've looked at a couple of scenarios here. As I showed last week, there are a number of different ways that we can get to this pivot. But I, when in doubt, simplify is my motto. And the simplest thing from this location up here is that I complete a 5 down here. Now, again, if you're interested in alternates, you can go back and watch last week. I went through at least 3 different alternates that could give us a different location here. But ultimately, I think the most probable is that we complete an A wave here. Again, it's the simplest. Okay, there's 5 down. Working on 3, looking for the next 5. It's the simplest solution here. So as we sit looking at this, well, what I see here when I look at this is that this all looks like it's one. Oh, I got to get rid of that. It all looks like it's one self-contained impulse. So I just want to, if I'm just going to use the regression channel here, I want this all to stay self-contained, and that which would be typical for a good impulse. That it's going to stay within this. Well, no, this is 2 standard deviations. You could do the same thing with just traditional channeling. I just like the standard deviation because I like that range here of 2 standard deviations. So thus, I continue to lean into the idea that we're still seeking the pivot high of the B after this A. So how do we get there? Well, again, we went through this a little bit last week. So we'd have the 3 into the A. We'd have to go A, expand the B, and finish with the C down here to give us the B relative to this A. And now we're seeking that C. That remains, I think, the most probable outcome. Now, we've got some invalidation points here per the way I'm counting this, and this is a bear of a count. It's a very challenging count. But with all that said here, now let me, let's just hide that. Okay, so how do we get this done? Oh, I suppose I hide this too, because it'll just be in our way. All right, oh shit, I didn't want to do that. Let's hide this, but right here, hide it. Okay, so let's see if we can dig in there and get this count to play. A, B. All right, so all we're trying to do here is complete an impulse. Well, as is often the case with Bitcoin, it's not making it easy. This seems, it's hard to call that anything but an impulse. It's a little sloppy here, and the finish is kind of ugly. You're stuck with the 3 here. It's obviously it's not ideal, right? We do get a new low here, so you'd have to go A, B, C, right? It's not much of a C. Again, Elliott's not perfect, right? But you're going to compromise somewhere because even if you went down to a 2-minute chart, it's going to be hard to get 5 out of that here just in the context. And even still, you'd have anticipated that being longer. Oh, it doesn't quite, if I just do it this way, you get a little bit of structure here with this here. Okay, maybe that's what happened here, a little market structure, but we do get a new low here, and then up we go. We go straight into an impulse. So right off the bat, even though that's shallow, you'd be inclined to be thinking, if this is the pivot low here, the start of the wall. I got to change that back. Right to the 38. 1, 2. Right? So it's a 3, and this is an impulse. So it's not the ideal location. You'd like to see it down a little bit lower, but we don't get it, right? So it's just the market. You take what the market gives you. There's 3. Okay, well now I go straight into another impulse. So I'm eliminating possibilities along the way. If this is going to be a shallow 2, all right. Well, I got 2 impulses here I got to deal with. So this is tricky. Yeah, this is going to be hard to see. Let me go back to that 30-minute so you can see this here. Members, I hope you've got your own version of this. So here, off of the proposed 2 low. So the A, there's that lousy C. Oh, yeah, I guess you can see it here. 1, 2, 3, not much of a 5 there, but you can get the basic structure of a 5 coming down to give us the C. So A, B, C, 1, 2. Well, it looks like the only solution here based on what follows is you just have to go 1, 2. Now you again have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get that 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. Now this is a cluster, but it looks like if I open that up, this looks like a 3. So it looks like you got to go W, X, A, B, C into the Y to give you the 4 relative to this 1, 2. So if I were good practices here, I should have this wicked off. And we can kind of use that for both ones. Oh, 1, 2. All right, so if that's the 4, I would sure want to take a measure of this 2 relative to that 3, right to the 50, right? And then you can always tell, right, look on the edge, here's that target. Right, so slight front run on the 50, that algo gets its target. Now we go through the correction. So now as we sit here, it would appear that the 3 is in. So 1, 2, 3 up here. Here's the 3. Now I got to go W, X, and I got to finish with a Y. Now you could count this multiple different ways. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'd have to go A, B, C to get your Y in to give you the 4 relative to this 2. So same thing. I want to measure it. So from the 2 through the proposed 3, where am I looking for a 4? Between the 23 and 38. So we get a few pivots through the 38, but that's a prime spot. And if I'm not mistaken, this was pretty close. If I got, oh, I took the one. Oh, give me a sec here. Let's get that's the template I want. APP. There we go. All right, so that's right in the pocket between the 127, 1382. Right? If it's not going to do the 100, second most common for that C will be the 127, 1382 splits it. So I feel pretty good about that 4 relative to this 2 with that confluence here. And then you'll note here we're kind of coming back into this prior congestion. The market structure is supportive of that. So I've got us as 1, 2, 3. Now, you will note here that we don't make, oh, let's go come off of this. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this would give us the 3. Now, again, we got to go through a lot of complexity here to get that 4. Oh, I think to try and simplify it, no matter how you slice it, it's corrective, right? So let's get this down here and take this up a degree. All right, so it's tricky. So you'd have to go A, B, C, A, B, C, A. Oh, it looks like you'd have to do A, B. Oh, shit, how are we going to have to do that? A, B. Can we make that work? That's interesting. So it looks like we'd have to do, how are we going to do that? So that looks like that's A, B, C. That looks like we have to go A, B, and into a C. We're going to have to go X. This is a little bit of a pickle here, right? So, pardon me. Let's see. Could we do it? Oh, I guess we could do a flat. Pardon me. All right, so let's do it that way. All right, so we thought I had this all sorted out, but I'm catching myself right here. God, I don't love that. But I might be stuck with that. A, B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not even sure that. Well, let's see. 5 would be the shortest, but boy, that's a shitty. Unless you, oh God, you can't quite get that to work. Let's see. So 1 would be the longest. Oh, this is a bitch. Oh, it does go long. Okay, so we've got far enough there. Oh, is that ugly? Yeah, that's ugly. So it's not much of a finish there. I'm on a 30-minute. The 1, 2 is. I don't see a better way to get that. This looks like 5. That's 3. You can get 5 into that. That's 3, but that's a cluster down there to try and get that to finish. So this would be, I just kind of, what I'll do when I have something like that I'm a little unsure of, I just kind of do that. And I go, okay, if I run into trouble, I'm going to come back here and look at an alternate way to count this. But right now, as I see this, I don't see it. What am I missing here? Unless I'm going to go W, X, Y. I guess I could do it that way. I guess I could, right? So we do it as a double. All right, so I guess I could do that. So we'd have to do it this way. W, X, Y, X, Z. That's how we have to do that. I don't see another way to count that. But I would, again, on my chart, I would keep this here saying, if I got problems, I'm going to come back here because that's a potential problem. I'll take it off here just for our work here. So potentially the 4 here. A, B, you still run into a problem here with this trying to finish that. Because you want to go A, B, that's not much of a C. God, you probably have the 1, 2 is your problem. You're kind of stuck with it. And I would do it this way. Oh, no, that's not what I want. I want this. Right through that low. Nice regression. Now with the blowout here, so let's see, can I put this whole thing together? So this would be the 3. Okay, so let's go up through the 3. Sorry, guys. I thought I had that worked out. I caught something there right as I was in the midst of it. right? But that's I want you to see that, because what you don't want to do is just go, fuck, that's a correction-ish, right? Because I challenge you guys to account for every swing. I don't want to do the same thing here and just go, well, it's corrective. Although I think I've done that before. At the end of the day here, Elliott probably disagree on how to get there, but I with the exception of that last little swing, God, I don't see another way to get there. Okay, so swing 1, 2, there's the 3. Well, if we look here, this is this is a long-winded way of getting to where I'm headed here, which is our invalidation point. So if this is 1 and 2, well, 3 is not longer. So let's just tee it up. All right, so there's the 1. If this is the 2 and that's the 3, well, right, 3 being shorter than 1. Now, it's not uncommon to have an extension in 1, but you would not now be expect what you'd be anticipating, and would be a requirement here per Elliott rules and guidelines, is that we can't have an extension in the 5th. So the length of what we'd be keying on here, which is why I have this invalidation here, is the length of 3, of the proposed 3 as it sits here. The proposed 3 projected from the proposed 4, if I get right on it, right? So here's the invalidation point, 1 tick beyond. So it's 54.7725. Oh, shit, let's call it, am I right there? 50, let's call it 55, right? I mean, you're right there, 54.9 and change. But so depending on the exchange that you're trading on, I'd get that tick perfect. Now, as it sits here right now, while it's possible that's in, right? That would be a really shallow 5. So you'd be more inclined to be thinking, okay, if that's 1, 2, 3, we've come right to where I'm anticipating the 4, and it's a little tricky to get there. Maybe, but I think it looks to me more likely that we're just going to go 1, 2, and we're going to have to do 3, 4, and it's going to be tight. So if we invalidate here, then you'd be back here thinking, because this is a 38 and this is a 38, you'd be thinking 1, 2, 1, 2. Right now the triangle, you'd be likely headed for an expanded B. The whole thing starts to take on another complexion if we're going to go up and invalidate that level. If we're going up into the 55, 56, the triangle idea is going to start to disintegrate. And you're gonna be back here revisiting this, saying if it's 1, 2, 1, 2, oh, well, game on, right? Then most likely I'm completely wrong. The 4 low is in, and we're off to the races. But I'm not ready to go there yet. A couple of things to put in here just to give you some. Don't forget to do these, right? So, right, and I get right on it. Okay, am I on it? Yeah, let's get. You want to get right on these, right? So this is worth doing. The little. I know it's annoying, right? It's annoying to do it on video, but you want to get these right on the pivots. So hold the shift key down. You get right on it. Oh, come on. Jeez, I should be editing this. Okay. All right. So from this corner, all right. Well, we got our 80%. Now look here. We're just shy here before we push sideways. Now you'd have to have a running parallel on this, or you just create another one. Now let's just do that. I might look to do this. Okay, now look what we just did. It's just so funny. You'd think I'd set this up, but I didn't. All right, so let's get it right on there. Okay, so from this corner, what did we just do? So I swear to God, I didn't pre-plan that. If you caught this corner, let's get it right on there. Coming out of that. Okay, so we've just realized our 80%. All right, so this is why I try and tell you guys this. Right, if I had only one tool I could use, just only. All the things here, the only thing you get to use is one. What's it going to be? Median lines, right? So from this, even though it's shallow, we don't get a golden. It's not to the 50. We don't have an algo participating here. Well, we might. I'd have to dig for it. We might have an algo participating here, but right now, so this one burned its 80. This one's burned its 80. So tag right now. So you might look at that and say, okay, well, it could be the 5th. More likely, what you'd be looking for is a little bit of a pullback here. Now, it's one of the dangers of doing this on a Friday. why the weekends, it's a wild card. You just never know what's going to come out of the weekend, right? The liquidity dries up a bit, right? They can move the market more so. So this could easily go either way, but just in terms of probabilities here, just look at that. 1, 2, 3, that sure doesn't surprise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we could be done right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So well, oh shit, that could have, you could have 1, 2, 3 and working on the 4, and there could be one more little kick here. I'd prefer to have it done right here, because I'm if we're going to participate in anything on the long side, I'm looking for that. Right? So then you could do this exact same thing, right? So anytime you get a retrace, right, that's beyond, it gives you enough time. Because if you're doing it here, right, it's too narrow. You got to get enough time to make it, to give you a good target. I'd be looking for that, right? 1, right, where here's the 3, here's the 4 proposed. If this is, if we come down, right, I mean, again, as I said, possible, that's the top, possible. It would be sort of out in the middle, and, well, wouldn't be that far, right? We just passed the golden zone here by a couple of ticks in log scale. We're in between the 50, here's the red line, here's the 618 in arithmetic. So it wouldn't be outrageous that that'd be done. It would just be surprising, but Bitcoin is always full of surprises. So I'd be inclined to be thinking that's 1, we're looking for the 2, and there's likely another 3, but we got to pay attention to this level up here, because we don't, if we get a big 3, now you're back to 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, I know that's confusing here, but as we go through this, and of course members, we'll track this swing by swing so we can keep track of it and look for where's the next opportunity. If you're looking for buying opportunities here, I think this is your next play right there. All right, 1, 2, shallow 3, and you've got a clear target, right? We got a clear spot up here where it can go right up to that. Could give us the C, which would give us the B. Oh, let's see where that would put us at our invalidation point. All right, so here, how am I doing on time? 27. All right, we're not too far. Right, so our invalidation point would be here just ahead of the 786. But it would, note here, would be at second target on the algo swing here from this. But let me take this one off. There we go. Okay, so coming up here, we got to pay attention to where that is. Oh, let's just get our... All right, we'll be right on the edge here. So now this is visible range here, and we can change this. And I might do the same thing here. I mean, you can anticipate right here. Well, essentially, you'd be drawing all of this here now. So here's the POC up here at this pivot here, because we stayed there for so long. It would be in between, which I don't love, but it would be right on the edge of all of this volume here. So that's one to be watching here. And again, the alternative is that we got 1, 2, and then we've gone 1, 2, and then this is going much higher. This gets blown out. Likely this ends up being the 4. We looked at some counts that would get us there. I still think that's less likely, but that's how we would look. That's how we would get there. So let's go back to that 30-minute. So any sort of pullback here, if we're not just going to soldier on here, and we can recognize here. Now, just because it's tagged the median line doesn't mean that it has to stop there. It's just that you got your 80% there. So we tag it. Now, it either hovers, retraces, as I just laid it out here, does something like this, or it carries on, right? And we go, well, we're just going to, that's not going to work. We're going to go up here to the upper pivot. Maybe we have an extension of the 5. That would surprise me here, but there could be one more little kick here, because you can see a 1, 2, 3. That could be the 4 going in now. Oh, you might, grab a little pivot like this and say, okay, this was some resistance. If we were to come back down here, oh shit, let's zoom in there. You can see it. Let's get you right on the corner. Oh, I might even do it this way, just to connect all of that. All right, so let's go even deeper in there. 1, 2, okay, could be done. Could be 3, 4, 5. Well, I'm already on a 30, so let's label it up. Candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's too big, obviously. Okay, but that could get us up here, and we'll take that up a degree. Okay, so then we'd have You know, we're approaching, here's the golden zone, here's the 618 and the 65 in arithmetic, right? And that would get us done though. All right, so let's take this one off. That little challenge here. So here now just tagging the median line here as we get that totally nailed down. 3, this is again, this is shaky. Yes, I love the count. This is the problem. That's a tough finish in 5. I had considered A, B, pardon me. We had 5, 3. So we had to do it. This is a brutal count. I don't like that either here because this looks self-contained. W, X, Y. That's clearly a 3. That's well, you can get that. You can get that as a 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's not much of a finish. Tough one, right? This is, so if you want to be even more precise, all right, this is your problem spot. Now, Bitcoin's done that before, right? Where you just have just an area here where you can't quite get resolution here. So again, if this starts to fall apart, this is where I come back and say, okay, something's wrong. I've counted this incorrectly because of that. It almost looks like you got another ABC here, but I can't quite. Oh God, I don't like it as much, but I suppose you could do it this way. So you'd have to go A, B, C, W, X, Y, A, B, C into the X, A, B, C. I don't like it as much, but I suppose that's an alternate here. So we'd still end up with our 4 here. It's a tough one. Very tricky one. But this would be, so at least we deal with the finish here a little bit better. So you'd have to have a flat into this W. So you'd have 3, 3, 5. Actually, this may work. So we'd have 3, 3, 5, 3. Oh, can we get 5 in there? Yeah, I guess we can. So you'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a shitty finish. I see it. Then there's 3 and then 3 to give us the Z. So that may be how we have to do that. 1, 2, 3. This was very fourish. Now are we done here? Even at the 15-minute. I mean, you could be, right? It's skinny, but you might have it. So why would you lean into that? Because of the tag in the median line, right? That things I try to remind you guys that do not happen randomly. That does not happen randomly. In the same way that the range expansion doesn't happen randomly, these are things that, all right, so now let's put this all back together here. Let me go back to 1 hour and let's get our wolf range back on here and we'll finish this thing up. Let's see, can I find it? Oh, look at that, I found it right away. Okay, so look where we're, interesting. Okay, so look where we are here, right? We've tagged the median line as we're tagging the 200% of the algo, right? Taking that initial swing, here was the 100, just tag the 200 as we hit the median line. So what's that called? Right, confluence. So we're in that pocket, and if we go back to log scale, right, you're just beyond the golden zone. So you have lost an algo. Now, how do we get an algo again? Well, we get a smaller one. Doesn't mean that we can't have an algo. It just means that the next one is going to be here. The next buy side algo is going to be there. We lost the sell side at the largest degree. Right, so remember, when it breaks, it doesn't mean that they go long here. It's just the buy side will wait for the next 50 or golden zone before they buy it again. But from the pivot swing high, we lost that algo. Right, so that's a bit of a negative for that count. Again, I feel like I have to remind people, I'm not rooting for Bitcoin to go down. I'm long as hell. I'm not going to be sorry if we're off to new highs. It's just, again, I consider this to be a high-risk location to be buying. Now, I've been saying that for several weeks, and it keeps going up, right? So, you know, it's never easy in Bitcoin. Rarely. Every now and then you get something. But this is really challenging count. So I think everybody is going to be a bit challenged here until we get a little bit more information. So we haven't... What you'll notice here is since this pivot low, we had a very deep correction. Now we've not had a correction that was even a 50 since then. Even this was only a 38, right? From this 2, right? If we're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, well, that was closer to the 50. Right now, that's looking much more bullish. So I'm in the camp here that while there may be one more push up, I don't think we're going without coming back down one more time. Of course, I could be wildly wrong. All right, there you go. That's Bitcoin just doing what it always does, which is makes things challenging. All right, if it were easy, well, it's never easy. All right, but what fun would that be? Okay, so there you go, guys. There's plenty of things to think about. I continue to stick to those counts as I've laid them out. If things change, we'll be back next week. Members will update throughout the course of the week. If this changes radically, if we get a big pump over the weekend or a sell-off, we'll adjust the count accordingly. But as it sits right now, I stick with those two as I'll call them my tied primaries, my pair primaries. All right, guys, there you go. Have a good weekend. I remind you, those live streams are going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see about Thursday. But again, a lot of people had good feedback for us and seemed to get a lot out of it. So we'll continue to do that. With that, I wish you guys a great weekend, and we'll catch you guys next week.